always, always, always bench test your fuel pumps before you go and spend hours and hours stuffing it back into the car, into the belly of the beast, where it takes you an hour to get it up in there or drop it. An hour. Maybe if it's your first time, it's going to take you 2 hours or 3 hours or 2 hours or 3 hours to drop the thing, because there is a procedure you have to follow. And if you get it wrong, hopefully you watch my videos, but if you get it wrong the first time like I did, you're in for a really, really, really long weekend. Alright, and that's going over to the bench. Yes, and it will be leaking a little bit of fuel just because the strainer soaks some up, but I'm pretty sure there has been no fuel that has actually gone through this pump. And all of my wires look good. Oh my god, look at that. I disconnected it during some step in this process and forgot to reconnect it. Oh man, that is fucking infuriating. Oh. But the good news is I can just plug this right back in. And I should be good to go. Oh god. Oh god. Bench test your fuel pump first. Bench test. Don't just take a manufacturer's word that it's good. Alright? Bench test. You do not want to waste that time. I can't stress it enough, and I don't know how to make my point other than bench test first before putting it into the car. I probably just wasted about 2 or 3 days of my life because I didn't test it. Go ahead and put 2 or 3 gallons of gas in there while it's sitting here. It's not really that much heavier. I mean, it might only be a couple pounds heavier. And when there's absolutely nothing after you've cleaned it and everything, when there's absolutely nothing, no dirt, debris, sediment, completely dry in there, adding 2 or 3 gallons of gas is not going to make a difference unless you're like a little pipsqueak, okay? It's not going to make that big of a difference in weight. And that way you can bench test it. Just take it over to your car, get some alligator leads. You will need alligator clips. I recommend that you make some that are 3 or 4 feet long. The electrical connector itself is probably only about 2 feet long. This will probably come to about your knee. In order to get from your knee to the battery positive and negative, that's about how long you're going to have to make your alligator leads. But I would make them a couple feet longer just in case you need them for something in the future. It's always better to have longer alligator leads than not long enough. Oh my god, I got my connector. I got my fucking connector plug in the tank. Jesus, man. Only after being installed for 1 day, the rubber around here has started pulling away. And the same down here. All of the rubber seems like it's actually starting to deform already, and I haven't even run the pump. Let's try this again, but this time with the harness connected. Foot in, going that way, and your strainer, and now that goes, sits in those tabs. It's not going to move out of those tabs. You get your lock ring. Goes around there. Now we're going to run a continuity test. Should be pins A and D. That would be on the connector side with the 2 prongs up. This is the 4-pin connector for the 95. The 94 has an inline 4-pin connector, kind of like this. It'll be splayed out like that, whereas this one is a box. Anyway, on this it's the top right and the bottom left. Should be continuity. So much better. Yeah, I was not getting continuity on this, obviously, yesterday. While I was testing it installed, and I was like, what the hell, why don't I have continuity? That's because the connector's not connected. Do I have a 9-volt battery? I don't have a 9-volt battery. 9 volts probably not good enough to engage it. I need 12. I need to do this over there, which means I need to slide this whole thing over in front of my car close enough to get jumper wires on the connector. I used a permanent marker to mark the arrows on the return and the supply. Supply goes out, return goes in. That's how it is, and that's your ground screw. So if you get a bad ground on your pump, check that for rust. Okay, so I'm going to go on to the supply line, which is this line. Alright, that's nice and secure. Now this is basically going to be a bench test, because you do not want to bench test your pump using water or any other solvent for that matter. It's meant to use fuel to go through the pump, so you should use fuel. And if you can do that while it's installed in the tank, even better. So get your length of hose, and what we're going to do is jumper this with 12 volts in the ground, and we should see fuel come out of here, and that'll let us know that when this is supplied, when the pump is supplied 12 volts, that it's going to work correctly before you install it on the car. Let's just say you get a DOA pump. There goes a couple hours worth of work installing it just to figure out that something's wrong electrically. So this is a good way to test it electrically first. And so we're going to have to take this over and jump it from the battery, and that means carrying it. The next thing I'm going to do is put my battery terminals back on, because I need a place to T-pin into here. Remember about that spark, as you can see. The top right pin should be battery plus voltage. So whatever your battery voltage is, you should also get that same exact voltage on the top right pin. And the bottom left pin is going to be ground. And that's pretty much what the connector should look like. Make sure that doesn't move. I've got my voltage pinned off on the positive, and I have this running into my container from my supply line. So when I touch this to ground, that should kick on the fuel pump and run gas into the container. So we'll connect him up here, and I can hear this humming, and it's leaking right here, but I do have flow. So that is a good bench test. Pump's working. Yeah. That did not provide a good seal, because now this whole entire top compartment is filled with gas, and I have to go and soak that up. But that's a good bench test.